Afternoon West in the world. Welcome to your review video for Tuesday, February the 18th. Following the completion this morning of our discussion of the French Revolution and the era of the Atlantic revolutions. Last week, on Thursday, we introduced the causes of the French Revolution and its early stages, building up to the 1792 decision of Louis XVI to flee France. We pick back up today trying to understand what happens in the revolution after the flight, the attempted flight of Louis XVI. What we saw was that its immediate consequence is the shift in the direction of the revolution into the hands of more radical leadership, men like Maximilien Robespierre, and the era of the Reign of Terror, which, while it accomplishes some things in terms of French national security and the building of French national identity, also eventually devolves into incredibly grisly violence, symbolized by dull guillotine blades falling repeatedly on the victims. The era of the Reign of Terror, of course, comes to its conclusion in 1794, followed by the Directory, and then ultimately by the ascension of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon we covered fairly quickly, but we see that he is both very much the child of the French Revolution, in that his very opportunity to ascend to power in France is dependent on the shifts brought about by the revolution, and also its sort of ironic conclusion in that he eventually consolidates nearly absolute power in his own hands as France's emperor. The era of Napoleon brings dramatic domestic changes in the Concordat of 1801, the institution of the Napoleonic Code, as well as, of course, dramatic developments in foreign affairs as Napoleon goes about the business of constructing his grand empire. The climax of which comes, of course, in 1812, when he attempts to punish the Russians by bringing them to heel for their violations of the continental system, and fails to do so. This ultimately leads to his toppling in 1814 and then again in 1815. With Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo, we come to the end of the revolutionary era in France, at least for now. What happens afterwards is a restoration. The other powers of Europe return a Bourbon monarch, Louis XVIII, to the throne of France, in fulfillment of their conservative vision of what change should look like. But, as we saw, as we discussed just briefly at the end of class, we saw that this conservative vision of Metternich and the other representatives of the Congress of Vienna is attempting to turn back the clock in ways that really can't be accomplished. While it brings about an era of relative security and peace in Europe, it does not bring an end to the fundamental demands of citizenship and rights that characterized the era of the French Revolution. These ideas, which are already, we saw, spilling out in places like Haiti and in the rest of Latin America, are going to continue to bubble to the surface in Europe in 1848 and beyond. These changes will continue to track next week. Have a good one, and I'll see you on Thursday.